Okay, thanks for everyone who stayed. My name is Filipp Keks, I'm a software engineer, and I'm going to tell you a story about how to actually make things done. The title is Think Like a Painter. Oh, we have some pretty nice cosplayers coming. Nice costumes. Okay, if you're going to make some game project in the future, you're a game developer or something like this, then you should for sure listen to what I'm going to say right now. Is any one of you going to make some game? Cool, yeah. So, typical problems which beginners make and usually, unfortunately, some professionals make too. First, I will show you the video of the painter work. How the painter works, like the speed paint. You may notice in which order the artist, the painter, makes his work. He doesn't work on like some special details. For example, the artist doesn't paint nose in the beginning and then switch to lips, or paint eye and then switch to nose. The painter works on the whole picture at the same time. So the painter makes adjustments to the whole picture all the time. So actually, the idea is that the whole picture is getting better and better over time, and if I just click pause in this video at any moment, the whole painting can be considered to be finished. Actually, only the artist can say when the whole picture is getting finished. Soon it will finish, and I will explain in more detail what does it mean. Yeah, the last adjustments are like some special effects. Yeah, the finished painting. But actually, for example, if I click pause and I click into the beginning, or for example in the middle, you can consider this to be a finished portrait, right? It looks like a finished portrait, but not as, I don't know, perfect as in the finished one in the end of a video. Or if I click somewhere here in the middle, yeah, this can be considered a finished portrait too. And if I even click further away into the beginning, this can be considered to be a finished portrait. It doesn't matter actually where I stop. All the time, the portrait, it looks like a portrait. And this is actually the most important thing which you have to take into account, think about, while doing anything in your life at all. And it's actually the hardest thing to learn. It's very simple, and you should use the same thing while making a game. And failing using this idea is the main reason why most of the young game developers fail. They leave their project in the middle and they don't finish. So, okay, I will explain further how it works. By the way, the painter which speed paint video I used is worked with me on the project called Nitronation, and these are like a couple of his works, like concept art he was doing for the project I worked with him, like a couple of, yeah, just to mention. Okay, so I'm, as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm a software engineer, I'm not a painter, but I looked into the book called Painting for Dummies, you know this usual series, like Programming for Dummies, Painting for Dummies, Anything for Dummies. Very simple book which you can start with if you're going to be a painter. And these are the points from the book. These are actually the names of the chapters of the book. And they quite clearly state that painters are taught to use this skill. So the painter who is not able to use the skill to watch the whole picture from the beginning to the end without concentrating too much into the detail will actually fail as a painter. And they are taught like this. I talked to a lot of different painters from different painting schools. This is the main thing the young painters get taught. Don't pay too much attention to the details, pay attention to the whole picture at the same time. So what happens if the painter fails to use this rule? I brought you a couple of pictures. For example, this is just advertisement of some movie, and you can clearly see that faces of a character is a little bit distorted. Probably because the painter just paid attention to the noses of this character separately from their whole faces, so they got distorted. Next picture is even better. You can, yeah, every one of you know, like the guy called Terminator, yeah? And you can clearly see that probably the painter started to paint the nose first, so it got too small. And then the whole face got totally out of context, because painter paid too much attention to the small details. He started with like eye and nose, probably. Next one. Another advertisement of the movie Troy, and actually you can see that the main character lips and nose are painted quite nicely. They have like nice shadows, nice details, but in the end the whole face is ugly, because the painter just didn't succeed to look at the whole picture all the time. Next one. This is my favorite one. You can see with the painter given so much love into the scars of the Terminator. The eye is painted. I can even see the separate hair of the Terminator. Actually, if I cut out one eye of this picture, it's considered to be a quite professional painting, but in the end it's just ugly. So that's what happens when you pay too much attention to the details without the whole picture. So why do game developers or software developers should learn anything from painters at all? Just because the painting is much older than software development. The rules of the painting have been developed for many, many generations, probably from the times of Leonardo da Vinci. And the software development, the rules how to make a software or games, is developed for maybe 50 years, not more. And the recent trends about how to make better software and with less bugs and which works well are developed from maybe 2000s. So we actually have a lot to learn from the painters. I will tell a little bit of the history of the painting, how it developed. In the end you will know why I'm doing this. So in the beginning there were total chaos. There were no rules how to make a good painting. Everyone just painted as they could. Everyone just painted as they liked it to do. So total chaos, no rules. It's just the beginning of the whole idea. Then, in the medieval times, the rules came. People just guessed that painting without rules just doesn't work. We need to set some standards, to consider which paintings are better and which are worse. So in the end, the rules got too strict. In the end, if you were painting with wrong, by the wrong rules, you were just executed, burned on the fire. So, second stage, too strict rules. Third stage, Renaissance. The people started to understand that the rules are making our craft worse. So we need to abandon all the rules which church applied to the painting, in Europe at least. And then came Leonardo da Vinci, Renaissance, and totally new style. As you can see, the Leonardo da Vinci time, it was more realism. Totally different ideas came. And in the end, it's probably right now we are in the period of avant-garde, when the ideas of Leonardo da Vinci are starting to be too boring, probably, for the painters, and painters prefer to get back to chaos. So avant-garde is actually is a step back to the chaos which was in the beginning of the cave paintings, but in totally different quality. And as you might have guessed, the same steps are coming. Any craft, software development or game development, are coming through exactly the same steps every time as painting. The question is, at which step the game development or software development is right now? And I guess it's somewhere near the cave painting or medieval painting. Why is that? Because right now software is developed the way without any rules. We have like some programming languages which are considered to be as tools which are used by the painters as pencil. So the programming language is a pencil, but the technique you use to create something with your pencil, or methodology you use to create something with your pencil, is totally chaos. There are no rules. Everyone is doing the software development the way they thought by themselves. And if you go even to the university, smart guys with long beards, they teach you how to use tools, but they don't teach you how to create things, how to make things done. This is actually a big problem right now in our software development community, because people don't know how to make things done to the end. I think actually it's already starting. The next step for the software development will be too much rules. For example, probably you heard about agile methodology. Who heard about it? Yeah, agile, cool. And agile, as you maybe probably have heard, agile is starting to be too strict. There are special schools or awards given to people who are doing proper agile, and there is such thing as non-proper agile. And this is exactly the same as what happened in the medieval times with painting. You should be doing software in proper way, otherwise you are not considered to be a good software developer. And there will be at some point a renaissance where agile wouldn't be considered to be so strict. It will be much more free. Actually, it's already starting in some sense. And in the end, it will be avant-garde. And after avant-garde, there will be something too. I cannot guess what it will be. So, how will this technique work for different roles involved in the game development? I picked out a few, but actually you can think of the rules for the separate roles by yourself, because idea is very simple. Don't pay too much attention to the details, pay attention to the whole picture. And the whole picture is not considered to be even only your work, but the whole project. For example, if you're doing very large project with many, many people involved. It is very easy to just forget about all the work which all the other people's doing and only think about the work which you are doing. Or especially a lot of even, not even beginners, but professionals, they pay attention to only the part of the work they are doing right now, but not thinking about the whole picture of what they are doing in a week or in a month time or in a year. Actually, it is probably in human nature to just pay attention to only one detail. So I may maybe like go with it quite fast. So if you're a game designer, in my experience, even very professional game designers, common mistake. They try to think about some balancing, game balancing or achievements, even before they even figure out what the game is all about. This is actually, in the end, as you might have guessed, they will have like a Terminator with distorted nose instead of the game. So, in the beginning, think about the plot, game mechanics, achievements, balancing, and socialization, monetization. Think further in the end. Same as painters do. If you're a programmer, start with a minimal gameplay, minimal prototype. The very important part of a game development is that it should be always playable. You must have always playable game in your hands, like playable build. If you have a team which are working on the game for a year, for example, and after a year they have like several parts separated. For example, I don't know, level developers, they have some level design which looks nice. Programmers, they have some prototype of mechanics, and I know some writers, they have some couple of dialogues which are like probably thought through quite well, but in the end they're not put together after 1 year. Chances are you will fail with your game. All the time you're developing a game, even after 1 month of development, you have to have like a ready build which you can show to your friends, show on the same event as gaming night right here, and which will be playable. If not everything will be perfect, of course, it will be like draft variant, but it should be playable. It should look like a game from the beginning of the project to the end. Asset artist. This one is easier because most asset artists, they still went to the artist school, and in the art school they do get taught to use this rule. Same as painters do. So this one is easier. Tester. This one is tough. If you're a game tester, you're testing a game which is not ready. Many testers, they think about the game that this part is not ready yet, so I'm not going to test it. When programmers will put all the parts together, I will start to test it. This is totally wrong, because programmers should put all the parts together from the beginning and then develop all the parts at the same time. So what should tester do? Testers should be at least all the time take into account which parts are ready and at which level they are ready. So there is no such thing as like 100% ready. There are always like some degrade from 0% to 100%. And testers should always take this into account about every part. So testers should like always talk to the other developers, talk to other designers to ask which parts are ready in which level and so on. I already mentioned the agile part. There is like a trend in the software development called agile software development, and yes, this kind of idea is promoted by some agile activists. It's called in a different way. There is no like concrete term for this idea. It's called like sometimes incremental development, sometimes lean development. Unfortunately, painters they don't have like specific term for this idea too. So I don't know how to name it. Although all the painters from the first year of the studies in the painting school, they all get this idea from their teachers, but they don't get the name of this idea. Unfortunately, probably we should name it somehow. And of course, there are some exceptions to all the rules. There are some exceptions. For example, if you're a tattoo artist, there will be a problem if you start to like painting a tattoo all over again, layers of tattoos, and so your client will be disappointed. But still, there are some workarounds. You can make some sketches and so on. There is for the software, the exception is probably security. If you have something project which is half done and you still want to release it to the mass public, the security is a small detail which should be there all the time, 100%. Maybe it's not so true for the games, but if you're developing a software which, like a banking software, something like this, where people can lose their money or lose their private property because of the bug inside your software, so you have to consider that even if your software is half ready, it should be secure. And for the games, this one is striped out monetization. Actually, we had quite of like discussion about this one. In my opinion, monetization of the game is a small detail which should come in the end. Like from the beginning, during the whole project, you should develop your game the way you like it to be, not the way it will bring you more money. Actually, this is some standing point of the game development. The only purpose of the game is to bring people pleasure. There is no other purpose of the game. There is no way the game will bring pleasure to the people if it's made to make money. So, if you're developing a game, don't think about monetization from the beginning. Think about it in the end. This is the problem actually about the free-to-play games. Most of free-to-play games are made to make money, and the developers of the free-to-play games, they think about monetization from the beginning. And it's sometimes this mistake makes gameplay boring and people just don't like it. So the main thing to consider, bring people pleasure, not money to yourself. Of course, money will help, because we're still living in a capitalistic society. And of course, the same idea can be applied to anything, any kind of project. For example, I made this presentation the same way. I started with some basic ideas, put a couple of slides with some text, and then started divided those slides to more slides and so on. So I didn't write like slides from the first to the end. I just like made it like a painter would do. Probably this event was done the same. So this event was like gaming night was developed in many stages, and every time I come to gaming night, it's something new. So it's like every time it's like a new layer of paint. So right now it's a lot of new stuff. We have like 2 floors instead of 1 floor and so on. So it also looks like a painting. And probably even you can see your whole life as a painting. You could probably pay more attention to your things, what you are doing right now in your life, your current job, your current studies and so on. But in the end, you should pay more attention to your whole life, like why you're doing your job right now, why you're studying what you're studying right now. And your whole life should be like a painting. So don't pay too much attention to the details of anything. Pay more attention to the whole picture. Typical problem Many people do it, professionals do it, beginners do it. Yeah, that's all actually. I know, will there be any questions? Because actually the idea is very basic. You just need to think about this all the time. Need to teach your brain to work this way. So, any questions? No. Yes. I can tell a little story. This is not the first time I'm talking about this topic. And once some girl met me on the street, just random girl, and I didn't recognize her, but she said, "Oh, I remember you. I remember you were talking about the painting stuff." And she said that she tried to use this idea for everything she does in her life, and she said it works. And she said that the idea changed her life. And I'm happy that I was able to change someone's life to better. So, I don't know, maybe I will change your life. Thanks.